Welcome, ladies and gents. We've had the Singapore Grand Prix, and well, it wasn't a classic, but we got the Russell Hustle and the all-important championship, Constructors' Championship, the fight between Mercedes and Ferrari. Mercedes extend their lead in that championship for second place with a Mercedes win. Of course not. It was 13 points that McLaren needed to seal back-to-back Constructors' Championship, the first time since 98-99. What a fantastic job the team have done. The drivers, on the other hand, well, it started with a bang. Norris and Piastri collide. Probably not the first time we'll see that, or the last time we'll see that, should I say, up until the end of the season, especially considering how annoyed Oscar was, sort of asking for the team to let Norris give him that position back, because we had the FIA investigation that said no investigation required, but we got the McLaren investigation into that battle as well. They'll go through that in the debrief, and wow, our boy would love to be a fly on the wall in that one. Let's see what comes out of this whole papaya rules fiasco that they've created internally, trying to be fair. It's just caused more chaos than they probably wished and thought would come off this papaya rules to try and make fair racing between the two drivers. They've created a rod for their own back, really, haven't they, after the back of this one? And it looks like it's just going to get spicier still, which is great for us viewers, because that's kind of what we really want and need. Max Verstappen extends his lead, or it cuts into the lead of the championship another couple of points. He probably needs more points than that. He really needed the win, and if it was a 3-4 for McLaren, it would have been big news of Verstappen, sort of a statement drive to get himself back in the championship hunt. But well, we thought this was the acid test really for Red Bull. Can Max Verstappen fight his way into this championship? And well, the Red Bull was faster than the two McLarens here at Singapore. Yeah, before that was the acid test really for Red Bull and Max Verstappen here in Singapore. Can they show that they've got a car for this championship? And have they got over their woes of the early mid-part season where they were clearly second best and miles off the pace to McLaren? It'll be interesting to see when we go to Coulter next, Austin, which will have the medium speed corners, which McLaren have been really strong at. And it's another one, I guess we're saying, we'll see in a couple of weeks' time, but it's really good to see that Max has a outsider's chance, I'd put it that way. And if it does get spicy, like we kind of seen a little bit here in Singapore between the two McLaren drivers, and one DNF between the pair of them, and he's right back in the hunt on that one if he can steal a win there. The race itself wasn't a classic by any means, but we got probably the best radio ever with Fernando Alonso giving Isaac Hadjar the Hero of the Race award or trophy midway through that race. He got a couple of bangers at the end. We've not heard his rant about Lewis Hamilton and that unsafe car with no brakes cruising around, and the TV direction was absolutely shocking. It missed a fantastic overtake by Fernando Alonso, so we've heard as well, it missed out the whole drama playing out on the last lap with Fernando Alonso catching Lewis Hamilton with no brakes and missing out on that P7 by 0.4 tenths of a second, when it was a comfortably 40-50 second gap between Lewis and Fernando Alonso with a couple laps to go. Lewis lost his brakes. An investigation going, which will go on after the race. Potential for a 5-second penalty for track limits for Lewis Hamilton, which will give Fernando Alonso that P7, which he was really animated and angry about it. So I guess it's more crucial for Aston Martin and potentially Ferrari. But like I said, Ferrari need all the points they can in this fight with Mercedes for second in the championship for them. So we'll see what happens when that plays out. And it's a shame we completely missed that whole final lap of Lewis. Did he cut how many corners? Who knows? But I'd like to see that one again. And then we got the Friday Driver podcast at the end, and that was looking and should have been spicy talk, and we kind of missed it. It's like the TV direction really needs to up its game. It was absolutely shocking for much of this race where we got overtakes. It missed at least a handful where there wasn't many overtakes at all, and they were just fixated on this battle of Norris potentially closing in on Max Verstappen. Which was pretty much what we got for most of this race. There was one chance where Norris got really close and went for a move. It was around the outside. You're not going to do Max Verstappen there. And Max really struggling. It looked like at one point he was gone from catching George Russell, got to about 2.5 seconds, made a big mistake, and then was in his rear mirrors from there onwards. And he said car issues, felt like the rears had the handbrake on for a lot of the corners, but he managed through it and kept that second place crucially for him ahead of Lando Norris. And yeah, it's just a shame that we missed some of the other overtakes. Fernando Alonso passing Isaac Hadjar, and Alex Albon got himself up into a brilliant P8 in the end. Nico Hulkenberg had a couple of spins in that race, but that was it really. It wasn't a fantastic race by any stretch of the imagination, but George Russell takes home a fantastic win for him and the team, and it looks like that contract Toto Wolff soaking after qualifying or before qualifying that it's very close now. I guess it's just down to how many more years Russell gets on that contract rather than the 1+1 that we know Mercedes like to hand out. Onto the 3 good and the 3 bad of this race, and we're starting for the first of that. George Russell with a great win, a fantastic qualifying to stick it on pole position, come out of nowhere really. Mercedes themselves sort of saying, and even George at the end saying, if we looked at all the races this season where they thought they were in for a chance of the win, this was probably at the bottom of the list, and I had them down for a bad weekend this weekend. They don't like the warm conditions, and this weekend was tough. Yes, it probably cooler track conditions. It rained a little bit before the start of the race because there was talk of potentially starting on the Inters. That might have helped them and the team, but what a drive. Lights to flag victory, led every single lap, pole position, missed out on the fastest lap, which would have given him a clean sweep like Max Verstappen took last time out. So I think that was the only down part of George Russell's weekend, and I think he'll take that. But a fantastic win for him and the team. He's been driving absolutely phenomenally this season, and really leading that team, taking on the mantle from Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes. And if that car is any good next season and he can give himself a chance to fight for the championship, boy will he be a man on fire. So looking forward to that. And can Mercedes take any other wins? I think the surprise is that they just don't know or don't understand why this car was quick here this weekend. Probably why they didn't understand why it was quick in Canada either. Let's see what happens next time in more traditional circuits. Can they keep this level of performance? Who knows, because Mercedes don't know themselves on this one, but George did the job when he got the car and delivered with a brilliant victory. We thought there might be a chance at the start, but he drove away brilliantly, kept out of trouble from Max Verstappen on lap 1, turn 1, and control the race for a fantastic win for him and the team. Second of the 3 good, I'm going for Carlos Sainz. Before you know, he got disqualified, both Williams car, from qualifying, so he started in P18 in the end. Their DRS flap was higher or wider than the 85 millimeters allowed, so clear disqualification for both of them. Alex Albon started from the pits, Carlos Sainz from P18, but to P10. Where did that come from? Because they actually had really good race pace as well. They went super long on the strategy pit, or on lap 50, 52. Bunged on a set of soft tyres and was absolutely flying, timed that to perfection. And unfortunately for Isaac Hadjar fans, he stole that final point off Isaac, who otherwise did a great job as well, but he was absolutely faultless. A brilliant podium result last weekend, and he's a man on fire. Picked up another point out of nowhere this weekend, and beats the team that they're fighting in the Constructors' Championship for that final point. Really good weekend for him and the team. Another one where they weren't quite expecting to be as good this weekend as they were last weekend, and so to pick up a point from where they've had to start the race in the end has been an absolutely phenomenal drive from him in a place where it is difficult to overtake. The strategy perfectly to make up 8 places to P10 is an absolutely fantastic result from him and the team. Third of the 3 good, I'm going for Fernando Alonso. Made up 2 places from where he started, P8. It could be a P7, like I said, pending that Lewis Hamilton penalty. We'll find out what comes on around that. But the best team radio, like I said, of the season, especially when he get awarded Isaac Hadjar with a really good battle from him and Isaac. I can see why he was battling so hard, because he got himself up into P10. If he'd keep Fernando Alonso behind a little bit more, probably wouldn't have worked too well for him, because I think he would have just lost more time battling Fernando Alonso and trying to keep him behind to help him in that P10. Ultimately, he didn't get that, but Fernando drove fantastically well to pick up a couple more points from where he started. The Aston Martin started the weekend strongly in free practice 1, didn't quite show that pace in qualifying, but when the race came, Fernando Alonso drove absolutely fantastically to bring home a P8. Great result for him and the team, and if it could be even sweeter if he picks up that P7. He was furious at the end of that team radio, sort of just calling on that whole British bias thing, because he was saying, I was getting disqualified for a loose wing mirror not too long ago, and now Lewis Hamilton driving around with no brakes, and is that not more or worse of a safety concern than what he did? Let's see how that pans out. Fernando Alonso will be furious, banging on the steward's door if no penalty is forthcoming with that one, and probably only strengthens his view of this bias that he believes is there towards the British drivers. Let's see what pans out on that one. On to the 3 bad, and I'm starting with Nico Hulkenberg. A horrible weekend, or race in the end. A decent qualifying session, got himself up into P11. The race didn't go too well though, did it? Got damaged in battle, I think it was Franco Colapinto, where he lost a bit of his front wing, and then closing in on him down into one of the corners, just went for a spin, a mistake, and spun him round, and he was last from there, and finished last in the end. So really disappointing weekend, lost 9 places from where he started. A really scruffy race from him, where there was potential for a chance of a point, and he was the leading Sauber to try and finally get another point after his fantastic podium, and just put that run of bad races behind him, and it's just gone horribly wrong, all within a couple of laps for him really, and it's all down to his driving rather than anything from the team. So a bad weekend in the end for Nico Hulkenberg after a decent qualifying. Second of the 3 bad have gone for Yuki Tsunoda, a P12, and he's been beaten by Isaac Hadjar, who he was just a couple of seconds behind, but he finished like 5 or 6 seconds behind Isaac Hadjar in the end. I'm not sure if there was some sort of car issue, but to be stuck behind him for as long as he was, where Isaac had engine issues, we were telling he was 4 or 5 tenths down on power around the whole circuit. Isaac was losing, so he managed that and beat a works Red Bull car. So Yuki not really doing what he needs to try and get himself a seat in any team next season, which would be a real shame, because I absolutely love Yuki, but it's just not quite clicking for him anywhere. There's chances coming up for him to just show what he can do, and he's not really taking it, and this is another disappointing result, finishing P12, where I think potentially more was on the cards for him. Third of the 3 bad have gone for Pierre Gasly, because it's a horrible weekend all round. Bad qualifying, a really poor race. He's been beaten by Franco Colapinto all round. Another weekend for him for Alpine. I mean, he signed up for this team to be that lead driver, and for the last couple of races he's been beaten by the man that's been tipped to be replaced. Potentially at some point this season to give Paul Aaron a chance in that car, and Franco Colapinto looks like the lead driver in that team at the moment, beating Pierre Gasly in the last couple of race weekends, although not for any fancy points, because the car looks like an absolute stinker to drive at the moment. They just can't seem to get on it, and they've comfortably gone from picking up potentially some points to fighting way at the back, and just lucky to just get home. The qualifying wasn't really his fault. I mean, they had car issues, so couldn't complete a lap from there. But the race weekend wasn't any better at all really on that one, so they'll be hoping they can just cut a break somewhere and find some performance in this car, and they'll go to Austin in a couple of weeks' time where they'd hope for more on that. But yeah, that's the race review. Let me know your thoughts on the 3 good. Who did you have as the top 3 in your drivers for this weekend, and also who did you think performed particularly poorly? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on this McLaren battle with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Is Oscar right to be annoyed? Did Lando Norris finally do the right thing and get his gloves out? It's kind of what we've all been asking for, especially what I've been saying as fans. We want to see a real battle between the 2 McLaren drivers, and if it's so be it, there's a little barge and a touch. That's part of racing, and it was part of racing when we had the slow stop for Norris and, you know, that strange call for Oscar to give that place back. That was just part of racing. It shouldn't have happened, and we wouldn't have any of these discussions like we're having this weekend. It was great racing, a decent overtake. Yes, he touched wheels, but he was more than alongside. Oscar Piastri was on the inside line as well. So these things happen. I think Oscar overall probably will just take it on a chin. I think just the circumstances around how what the team have created is probably what's made him feel so badly about this whole racing clearly and fairly nonsense that they've sort of had. But if you look at it just on a pure racing stance, it's just good racing between teammates, and these things happen, and it's, you know, just one he takes on the chin and moves forward. But you can't do that when you've created this fairness, unfairness, rubbish and papaya rules around the whole McLaren team, and I think that's what we've got to look at this as, rather than what we'd say on the track. Is it an issue? Clearly not, because the FIA didn't think so either. Many fans won't think so either, and I think the whole thing is you just got to be fair, whether it's Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri, and we've got to see this team just sort of say, you know, we're getting this sort of rumours of potential bias towards Lando Norris. If the boot had been on the other foot, would we have got a call from the team to sort of say, look, Oscar, let Norris past? You know, them question marks will raise their ugly head, and it's not the way or the reason these papaya rules were there or created for. So yeah, McLaren need to do a bit of PR damage limitation on this front, probably just retract a little bit from this papaya rule nonsense and let just these guys free to race as they should have been. When racing incident happens, they happen. Tough luck if it didn't fall in your favour or against you. It went against Oscar this time, it was against Norris with the slow stop in Italy, and all these sort of things just add to the confusion and the chaos that they're creating all by themselves. And let's hope we get just a no gloves off real fight between Norris and Piastri. Straight fight between him, and can Max throw himself in the mix, which would be great for us neutrals and fans. But we really just want to see a clean, fantastic battle and let these guys race. If they are a little bit touchy and bargy, then so be it. It's part of racing and what we've seen for years and years, and what we all love as racing fans. So let's hope that's what we get out of this, and that'll be great for everybody. Whether you can then argue, oh, it was not really fair and played itself out, they're going to go with one rule, stick through to the end of the season. But now with 6 or 7 races to go now, just call it quits. There's 6 races after this one. Just call it quits and say, look, it's a straight battle. You've got a 22-point lead, Oscar. You know, the ball's still firmly in his court. It was not the end of the world. Norris only took 3 points out of that championship lead, not 6 or 7. Had it been for second and third in the race. So yeah, overall coming out of it, Oscar's disappointed, but he won't be too disappointed, because even in the race he didn't quite have the pace as Lando Norris did this weekend. Even in the race where, you know, Norris getting held up by Max, he still didn't get quite close enough to make it a 3-way battle for that final podium position, which is a real shame, because it would have been spiced up that race a little bit more towards the end. But it just finished in a bit of a whimper, and we just really missed the real battle, which was Hamilton trying to hold on for that P7 from Fernando Alonso in the end. So let's see what comes of that, but let me know your thoughts in the comment on this whole McLaren self-created fiasco. But yeah, final thoughts on George Russell. An absolutely brilliant weekend from him. Let's see if we can get Mercedes throwing their hat in the ring in this fight for the next 6 races, with a Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren battle and fight for every race win going on in the next 6 races, because that'll be absolutely brilliant. It's kind of what we expected going into this season, but it's not quite played out. McLaren have been absolutely dominant, but now they've wrapped up this Constructors' Championship that we've kind of been talking about. It was theirs forever anyway. You know, it's all about the drivers, and that's where we get all excited and wound up, depending on what side of the team garage or team you are on. But let's see what happens next time out in Austin. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. As always, see you on the next one, which is the driver ratings, coming in a couple of days' time, and then we'll have my making the grid of Austin Coulter. See you on the next one.